Okay, my mini sermon for today, I want to get into how do you be more productive and how do you be less overwhelmed. One of the things that I really like to do is to batch my work. Everybody knows what batching your work is. It's when you just book a date or a chunk of time, whether it's a week, a day, or multiple hours, depending on what the task is, and you just do all the stuff for that then. So like when we produce a course, we batch all the production so that we can drip the course out over time. So I've created this very simple 4-week structure to help you batch your work. So let's just say you want to do a weekly vlog, or you want to get more into social media posting. In 5 weeks from now, hopefully, if you follow this batching process, then you should be able to have consistent content going out more regularly. So number one, week one, let's just say this is a 4-week cycle. I mean, it could be a 4-day cycle depending on the content that you are creating. It could also be a 4-hour cycle if you're creating little mini snippets, or depending on if you're doing video versus audio, etc. But for week one, if we're doing the hypothetical 4-week batching of content, week one is to write down your ideas and create a plan. So creating like a production plan, a to-do list. So let's just say in the month of March or April, you wanted to release 4 new videos, or you wanted to do a 4-week mini course or something like that. So week one, you would block off a bunch of time and you would come up with your ideas. You would essentially create your content strategy. You would make your to-do lists of all the things that'll need to get done. And then in the second week of that month, you focus all of those blocks of time to writing. So you write the content, you write the copy, you write any and all things that need to be written. So week 2 is all about writing. Week 3 is all about production. So you might spend a day, you might spend a few hours creating your pre-production plan. So figuring out your setting, making a list of all the gear that you need to do, figuring out what you're going to wear, figuring out if you need costumes, do you need props, do you need other people to participate? And then you're actually going to produce it. So you're going to set up the camera or set up the microphones if it's just audio only. You're going to produce it. And then week 4 is editing and launching. So you take all the content that you've done and you edit it all together. You upload it to all the platforms, SoundCloud, Anchor, YouTube, wherever it is, all your social media. And then all at once, you pre-schedule all of those locations and you blast it out to your newsletter. You blast it out to all those places and you launch it all at once. So the idea of batching your work, instead of like, oh man, every Monday I have to figure out what I'm going to write. If you can just plan a little bit more in advance and work on multiple pieces of content at once, it is actually a great way to save.
I'm actually in a meeting
and find more. Oh, I'm just going to mute you there, Deb. If you batch your content, it's such a more useful way to spend your time because you can see the overarching scope of like what you're going to be releasing over the next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and you can start to plan and strategize around that. You can also, when you have your work batched, you can figure out, well, what would be some suitable podcasts for when that piece of content comes out in 2 months from now or 3 months? Who should I be aligning with for partnerships? What conversations should I have with other influencers, other peers that are in the same industry as me, so that when that piece of content does go live, you've already had these conversations that are starting to snowball. And the habit of the regular creator, people that are just, trying to keep their head above the water and keep their business afloat, is I'm just going to do it on the fly as inspiration grants. And that's all fine and dandy, but there are definitely more productive ways to do it. And I find batching the work is one of the most productive ways to create a whole bunch of content at once that you can release slowly over time, so that you're not just in that grind of getting swept away of like, oh, I need to do these Insta posts today. Oh gosh, I didn't do the newsletter. Oh, I got to do it now. If you batch it and you pre-schedule it, you're going to save yourself so much time. And when you save that time, you have more brain width to do all the other fun things you want to do, like go for a hike or all the other things. So batch it, schedule it. It's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to save you a lot of headaches. Is probably save you from crying more because you're so stressed from all the directions you're being pulled. And for all of you listening right now, I encourage you in this moment, think of something. 5 weeks from now, in 5 weeks from now, what is something you would like to release to the world? Is it a video? Is it a series that people can subscribe to? An email series, a webinar series, an audio series, a video series, something that is like one epic piece of content or multiple smaller pieces of content that all had to do with each other. So perhaps this is an idea you've been thinking about for a while. Write down the idea. What is something you want to release in 5 weeks from now? Write it down. Once you've got that, look at your week 1. So this week or next week, depending on where you're at and when you're listening or watching this, you're going to block off the time that you need in order to come up with the ideas and make a plan. My guess is if you're batching something that's going to be awesome, you need at least 4 or 5 hours of focused time to make your plan. So number 2, week 2 is you're going to have to block off your writing time to actually write out the scripts, write out any sales copy that's going to go with this, write out like the description of the pieces of content or piece of content that you're creating so that those descriptions can easily be copy and pasted to YouTube, to your podcast and all the other locations, your blog, your newsletter, etc. So then that's how you want it. You want to be copy and paste to all the different platforms so that you're leveraging your time and your efforts. And then block off in your calendar again the hours that you need to produce in week 3, and then week 4, make sure you have ample opportunities to do a good job editing it. And if you have those time blocks in your schedule, you schedule your success, you're going to be able to show up to those appointments with yourself and with your creative muse, and you're going to be able to be fully present in your creative process, which is the greatest joy of being a creator, is when you're not being pulled in all these different directions and you're just in your zone of genius, creating the thing that's seeking to come through you. And I promise in 5 weeks from now, you're going to be so overjoyed that you batched your work, that you gave yourself the time you need every week in a structured way so that you shut out social media, you shut out your email, and you just get into your creative flow. And the quality of work you'll be able to do when you're not trying to get everything done in a crammed way is going to go up exponentially because you're giving the space required. So that is your mission. I would love to know what you're all going to create in 5 weeks. And we're going to go around and we're going to share now. And for all of you that are not in this membership, you should be, because you'd be sharing as well. And we'd be holding your ass to the fire to get some shit done. End podcast episode.